silence must find its soul to speak a word. That's not how you love.
Hey, CB here again with Emily.
You've been listening to Radio VNP, curated performances from the weekly live stream of The Voice in the Pen.
For information on Radio VNP and The Voice in the Pen, please visit our website at voiceinthepen.com. You can learn about the performers you'll be listening to, as well as how to get involved.
And please visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you can get advanced notifications of performances. We are a fast-growing community, and we'd love to have you join us.
The Voice in the Pen is a songwriters cooperative focused on promoting and assisting original songwriters with technology, technique, and platforms for performing.
That's right. Besides the weekly live stream on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 10, we also host educational and informational events to help performers understand the technology and techniques for better performances.
And if you're not a performer, you can still help support The Voice in the Pen in a number of ways. We can always use volunteers to help set up events, street crew to get the word out, and we always appreciate your marketing and advertising and sponsorship dollars.
We can use financial support to pay for projects such as our local music CD collection and artist honorariums.
And if you're a small business owner or a corporate representative interested in supporting original music and area songwriters, please reach out through any of our social media profiles or on our website at voiceinthepen.com. We can help you get your message out to a community of people known for supporting local businesses and the businesses that support local artists.
We'll be streaming some great music again in a few minutes.
In the meantime, please thank our sponsors for their support. It doesn't cost a dime to give them a call or a shout out on social media, and it lets them know that their support is deeply appreciated.
Thanks for tuning in, and have a musical day.
Well, I never felt more like singing a blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way?
MusicRewind.com presents the Nashville Hitmakers, a collection of 60 songs that helped inspire the Nashville sound movement in the 1950s.
She thinks I still care. Billy, Billy, Bio, watch where you go.
Order the Nashville Hitmakers at MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556 today and pay only $19.98. Plus, get reduced shipping. Just enter or mention promo code HITS55. Go to MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556. Remember HITS55 to save on shipping. This offer is available for a limited time to U.S. residents only and cannot be combined with any other offer.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Hey, I'm Yael Osaski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
As Wilmington's leader in restorative and regenerative medicine, the Frank Institute specializes in health optimization. Simply put, we use in-depth evaluations and lab testing to determine the best treatments for each patient. So whether you're suffering from an unseen hormonal imbalance or a simple vitamin deficiency, the Frank Institute is ready to get you back to better living. Call us at 910-679-8534 or fill out our symptom survey online at frankinstitute.com. Because at the Frank Institute, you live, we help.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
All right. right, everybody, welcome back to All Things Brunswick. It's a beautiful day here in Brunswick County. A little warm, about 100 degrees, but we're excited to be here. How you doing, Mayor?
Good.
Just
good.
wanted to say hi to Mary, and I'm going to do a quick shout out before I throw it to Mary, because we got an awesome show tonight. I'm been super excited for this one for a while yet. But we want to send a shout out to our other co-host, Bill, who's still slacking off. He's still away on vacation. He will be back. I don't know if next week or the week after. Yeah, probably the week after. But we want to say, Bill, we miss you. Get back soon. And on that note, I'm going to throw it over to my amazing co-host.
Thank you, Dan.
The amazing Mary.
And
Go with it.
my best to Bill as well. I miss you. We have some outstanding guests this evening. Our first guest on Zoom is Katharine Kollins. She is the president of the Southeastern Wind Coalition. And we also have Karly Lohan, who's in the studio with us, the Communication and Outreach Associate with the Southeastern Wind Coalition. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for having us.
I'm going to turn this right over to Katharine, and we are talking this evening about wind generation and the fact that we will probably soon see it off our coast. Is that correct?
Hopefully in the next decade, Mary.
That's good.
Yes, that's the plan. And thank you. I've got some slides that I am going to share with you all. For those of you who can see a screen right now. TK, I am sharing, so if you are welcome to minimize me or do whatever you need to do just to make sure that folks can see the slides. And for anyone who can't, I will do my very best to talk through them, but hopefully not ad nauseum. So as Mary mentioned, I'm Katharine Kollins, president of the Southeastern Wind Coalition. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. So that means we focus on education and outreach. We actually cover 11 states in the Southeast. That said, we are the vast majority of our staff, our massive staff of 4 people, we are located in North Carolina, myself included. I am in the Triangle, and my colleague Karly is joining you from Wilmington, or she is a resident of Wilmington. So the Southeastern Wind Coalition, we work on all things wind, land-based wind, offshore wind, wind imports, that's bringing in wind on high voltage lines from the Midwest, and the wind energy supply chain. So we try to touch a little bit of everything, but like I said, we're not a developer, so we're not out there developing projects. We are strictly education and outreach. So this is the exact kind of discussion that we love to have, that we're going to have with you all tonight.
Great.
So
and I might want to tell the audience too, Katharine, that in 2 weeks, I am going to ask both of these ladies back to share more information. We certainly cannot cover everything this evening. And at that time, I would hope to have Katharine's presentation up so that everybody can see it. I'm sorry.
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
No, thank you, Mary. Just really just title slides. So I just want to start out by giving folks a little bit of an overview. You know, we're going to focus on offshore wind, obviously. Certainly the talk of the town with you all, and so just to give a little bit of background. The U.S. currently has 2 offshore wind farms. Both are very small. One is 5 wind turbines up off the coast of Rhode Island. It's actually off of a high-end vacation island called Block Island, and it's in state waters, which is very interesting because it's only 3 miles from the shore at Block Island. And then there's a pilot project off the coast of Virginia, 2 turbines in federal waters, and potential for a whole lot more that would be adjacent to that small project. That's a pilot project that is owned by Dominion Energy in Virginia, and they are working, like I said, to build something out. In North Carolina, we don't have any development, but we do have a couple of wind energy areas that have been leased to developers. So the first one here that you can see is the Kitty Hawk Wind Energy Area. That's up in northeastern North Carolina. I won't spend too much time on this, but that project is much further in the development timeline. So it's kind of nice to be able to see, okay, as the Wilmington East Wind Energy Area starts to be developed, what does that timeline look like? What kinds of things are we going to see? So you can see this wind energy area, the lease was awarded in 2017. The earliest that there would be any development, any turbines in the water would be 2026, and it will likely be a little bit after that. So again, just to give you a sense, the development timelines are not short. These are large infrastructure projects.
Right.
With large infrastructure projects also come a whole lot of prep work, right? So environmental permitting. You can see here, I always appreciate this slide because the Kitty Hawk project has used a company called Normando to conduct months and months of surveys. So they have boats that are on the water 24/7 that are doing benthic surveys. They're doing aerial surveys. They've got actually on the boat at any given time, they've got 6 protected species observers who are out there looking for specific birds, specific mammals, specific turtles, those kinds of things.
That's
and then
great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into these, and you'll see I've got a slide with some of the timelines as well. And this is just one part of the process and the permitting that goes into these projects. This is, prior to this, you have the federal government that's been working on these same kinds of surveys, but at a higher level for decades before these wind energy areas are identified.
Now,
So you
these
can see here, there
surveys
was
are part of the permitting,
Yes.
project.
Yes, exactly.
right?
So let's see. They are, and I've got a slide. I'm gonna I'll see if I can find it. That's in a slide or two where I can reference that with a little bit more detail, Mary. So the wind energy area that you all are interested in Brunswick County is going to be Wilmington East. I know that it's been, like I said, kind of talk of the town lately, and that's because this wind energy area, although it has been in development since 2009, was just recently leased. So there are 2 leaseholders, Total Energies, which is a French, actually oil and gas major, and Duke Energy Renewables. And Duke Energy Renewables is the unregulated side of the Duke Energy that serves the vast majority of the state of North Carolina's electricity needs. So that auction was just held. Those lease areas went for $155 and $165 million respectively each. And for context, the Kitty Hawk Wind Energy area was leased for, I believe it was $9 million.
I heard there was a substantial difference.
Yes. And if you look for a lease in New York, they're getting up into the billions of dollars in New York for these lease areas. So Mary, you were asking about permitting and what, kind of what's involved there. And hopefully you can see this, a little bit of this timeline, but the next slide is specific to what this timeline looks like for the Wilmington East Wind Energy area. So the Wilmington East Wind Energy area is in federal waters. That is managed entirely by, we affectionately call them BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. It's the same agency that's responsible for oil and gas leasing. They're responsible for all outer continental shelf energy leasing. So BOEM will start to let adjacent states, local governments, et cetera, know, hey, we're thinking about lease areas off of the coast. And then there's a whole process by which they start those kind of stakeholder engagement talks in order to identify what's known as a call area. So before these things become wind energy areas, they're call areas. And when they're call areas, the stakeholder process involves the Department of Defense, involves the Coast Guard, involves NOAA, involves fisheries. It's every possible government agency is involved in looking at these areas and having the discussion about which areas of the ocean are going to be most conducive to wind energy generation, which are going to have the fewest conflicts with other ocean users, certainly which of those are not going to impact military training and operations. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into actually identifying a wind energy area. So if somebody looks at it and says like, oh, why'd they do that there? There's a lot of thought that goes into that.
And they also take the sea life into consideration. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, the Wilmington East wind energy area, originally, they were looking at two different wind energy areas. There was also Wilmington West. Wilmington West is in designated right whale critical habitat. And so that was a significant factor in the Bureau deciding not to lease that Wilmington West wind energy area.
Great. Katharine, when these, how far out will these be placed? Any idea?
Yes. So for Wilmington East, they are at the closest point 20 miles from shore. And given that Bald Head Island comes out from the rest of the mainland, that is the area to which they've got the closest proximity. The areas of, we've looked at distances from Oak Island and some of the beaches further south, and they are, 25 to plus miles off the coast.
Now, I know a nautical mile is longer than a land mile. Let me ask you, will there be any section that will be able to see them on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, no.
Okay.
We've got, and in fact, I've got a slide, again, for those of you who can see them, I've got a slide at the very end of this presentation. We had visualizations done because visuals is always something that we hear is a big concern. It's interesting because our organization has done a lot of polling to determine are visuals really the biggest concern, or is it something else that kind of manifests itself as visuals? And what we've seen is that visuals is something that we hear a lot about because it's very easy to talk about, right? You can very easily say, I don't think I want to see that. But that said, it's not actually most folks' biggest concern. What we've identified as the most pressing concern is people want to know, is this going to be good for the environment on whole? How, Mary, you were asking about the turtles and wildlife, and that is actually people's biggest concern is wildlife.
Yes, we have a lot of commercial fishermen here and in Wilmington, and they have concerns such as how will the turbines affect their needs as fishermen. They want to know about the cables from the turbines. Will they affect their fishing nets? They have many questions like that. So I know
and that is precisely why I brought my colleague Karly, because she is our resident fisheries expert. She is a legitimate Wilmington resident and can speak much more eloquently to those concerns, and has also done a lot of direct outreach with some of those folks who've expressed concerns. And we're really excited because the coalition has been kind of out front in coastal North Carolina for a while as, I guess, quasi-representing the industry before these lease sales took place. And what we're really excited about, because they were just conducted last month in May, is having developers now who are out there talking about their projects, who can be out there saying, these are our fisheries liaisons. These are our plans. This is when we plan to submit. Here you can see, the site assessment, the construction operations plans. They're going to have folks in the community who are regularly talking with, community members and meeting with community members, with elected officials, and all of you who have questions. And we will certainly do our best to answer questions tonight. But some of these questions we have to say we're not the developer. There are details that we're not going to have, and we can speak to the industry at large, saying these are the processes that a developer must. Are required, but most developers go above and beyond what's required.
Exactly. And you see, people in this area have no idea. They have never encountered these turbines before. I am originally from Maine. We have many there, not in the water, but on ground. But people have questions right from the very simplest thing and up, which I totally understand,
Absolutely. So. As they should. We hosted an event in Southport a few months ago, actually with the visualizations, which I'll show those on my last slide. But it was, I told so many people, one, it was phenomenal that we had so much participation and so many people there just asking questions and able to have a dialogue. But it was really, I told everyone, I don't live in Wilmington, but y'all are asking the right questions. Like, we should be asking questions. It's a large infrastructure project. Very important to ask questions and to have them answered in a manner, that you feel actually answers your, the root question. So. Yes. Okay. I am happy to turn it to Karly to talk for a minute about both fisheries, and then we've got one additional slide here on kind of Coast Guard. And, again, I mentioned there are a lot of agencies that we've worked with, but Karly, do you want to talk for a minute about fisheries and some of the work that you've done there?
Yeah, I'm happy to hop in. Thank you, Katharine. And Mary, you asked a really great question, a lot of really great questions about fisheries and what the impact to them will be. And in Katharine's previous slide, that timeline, in June 2009, the North Carolina Offshore Wind Feasibility Study was conducted. And that study helped cite both Wilmington East and Kitty Hawk Wind. And that was the first step in development of these wind energy areas, and fisheries have been involved from the very beginning. Siting was very much involved with commercial fishermen, recreational fishermen, and the diving industry. So there was a lot of hands-on collaborative research that went on to figure out not only where these wind energy areas should go and how they should be narrowed down within the call areas to eliminate any impact with birds, marine mammals, endangered species, migratory species that we see here on the coast, but also minimal impact with commercial and recreational fisheries, and then also our commercial shipping industry, because that's obviously a very large part of our coastal economy.
Great.
So it's one of the things that I've been doing on the coast is reaching out to both the commercial, the recreational, and the for-hire captains associations and talking with them to figure out their concerns. And I would say that the top concerns are obviously environmental, like Katharine had mentioned. They also have questions about navigational access and if there will be any economic impact to their fisheries and to their livelihoods, because so many people have been here for so long, and it's really
all their lives.
It's really a part of culture in Brunswick County. So to answer some of the biggest questions we get, we have spoken to the Coast Guard on many occasions, and they have their own vetting process along with the military during the siting and planning of the wind energy areas. But essentially, the Coast Guard anticipates unrestricted navigational access to all wind energy areas, and that includes during construction. these turbines aren't going to be built all at the exact same time. So it's not like the entire wind energy area will be completely shut down. There will be, during construction, a very small restriction around turbines that are currently being built.
I see.
But that'll happen in phases because it's not all going to be constructed at the same time. And once they are built, there will be no restrictions to navigation. So it's not like fishermen will have to navigate around the wind farms to get to their normal fishing spots. They'll be able to go straight through. And their offshore wind developers and the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management work together, which I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide. But they work together to make sure that the wind farms are uniform, that they follow all navigational rules of the sea, and that they are marked on nautical maps, and that they have correct lighting. So the risk of any, there isn't a risk to fishermen navigating through the wind farms. So that is
great.
That is very top of mind. Something else we get a question about a lot is, what will this do to the fish? Will this scare the fish away? Will we see more fish? What's going to happen to our fish abundance?
Sure.
And as Katharine mentioned, the first commercial wind farm was in Block Island, Rhode Island, and that's 5 turbines. And they've been in the water for 7 years. And some researchers up there that included commercial fishermen just released their first 7-year fisheries monitoring study that found that even though there's more fishing around the turbines because there's been an introduction of a hard structure and people know where they are and they want to fish them because it's cool, even though there's an increase in fishing, there's also an increase in fish abundance. So, and we are also seeing that the fish are eating the shellfish that live on the turbines. So we do know that it's creating a new habitat for all levels of the food chain, which is very exciting.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So all good things there. That study I can share with you as well if you would like to share with your audience. It's really interesting. It's also a great opportunity for any ecotourism and for charter fishermen because it's a destination. People want to see turbines. And we also get a question about, is there noise? Is the flicker of the turbines going to be loud or create a shadow? These turbines are very large, so their rotation per minute is relatively low. So you're not going to get blown away if you go underneath the turbine. So essentially, offshore wind developers they've made a really significant commitment to stakeholder engagement. We've just seen with Total Energies and Duke Energy as they sign the lease, they have a number of benchmarks they have to meet within the first 150 days, including establishing fishery liaisons. And we happen to have really great relationships with both of those companies, which is wonderful because we can help combine resources and streamline some of the work and interaction that I've had over the last couple months working with the community and take their efforts and put them all together. So we are anticipating a really collaborative and exciting fisheries process.
One of the concerns that I am hearing is that they will increase the water temperature, and whether or not that would be, whether it would affect.
I have not seen anything in the study from Block Island, Rhode Island about an increase in water temperature.
Okay.
So,
and the other concern is whether or not they would leak oil into the ocean.
So wind turbines do use a small amount of lubricant in their nacelle, which is the part that rotates and generates power. But the lubricants that they use are biodegradable, which essentially means that they will dissolve in water. They're not petroleum or synthetic based.
Oh, that's great.
So they're not going to sit on top of the water and create a film and cling to the wings of birds or drown fish the same way that oil would from an oil platform. It's completely biodegradable. So even though there might be a little bit of leakage, it's not going to have the environmental impact that synthetic oil would have.
And you had a question.
I have questions, but we only have about 2 minutes. So why don't we go to break now? This is a good time to take one.
All right. We'll take a break.
TK, we're going to throw it to you to send us to break.
Send us to break. Okay. Thank you. Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines and fiberglass specialties. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle box, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport. Lee Nails, located at 4956 Long Beach Road, Southport, is the place to pamper yourself. Steve and his staff of 5 are trained to do everything. They offer manicures of every kind. Pedicures include the deluxe, the special, the royal, the calming mud mask, and therapeutic wax dip. Other services include skin treatments and waxing. Lee Nails is open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday appointments and walk-ins are welcome. But hold on, you better hurry. They have a special. It's until June 16th, 20% off. Call Lee Nails 910-457-0837 for an appointment today.
I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. As a Marine Corps veteran, practicing attorney, professor of law, and father of 5, I want to pass on the precious freedoms that we inherited to the next generation. For that to happen, we need judges who will faithfully apply our Constitution and our laws, not rewrite them to achieve specific outcomes. If you share my commitment to liberty, please vote Trey Allen in 2022. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Paid for by the committee to elect Judge Michael Stadding. As a member of the United States Air Force, I stand for our nation. As a prosecutor, I took a stand against violent criminals. As an attorney for the Fraternal Order of Police, I took a stand for law and order. As a sitting conservative judge, I stand for our Constitution. And as a judge on the Court of Appeals, I will stand up for you. Vote for a battle-tested conservative. Stand with Stadding. Michael Stadding is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of his military rank, job titles does not imply endorsement by the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
All righty, welcome back to All Things Brunswick. We're having what I think is an absolutely fantastic discussion about wind, and I'm going to jump in with a question here. You ready?
I am ready.
Now, let me first preface this by saying I am completely ignorant on this subject, okay? I know less than nothing.
That is perfectly okay. That's why we're here.
So I'm going to take a step back and ask the question, why wind?
Why wind? Oh, Katharine, do you want to take that one?
Oh, look, I have a slide for that. No,
I didn't. I didn't just feed them this. This was a legitimate question that I have.
I was actually trying to see what slides I had left so I could see if I could just get rid of the slide deck. No, so why wind? There are actually a number of reasons for why wind. first and foremost, or the thing that I think is extremely important, wind is one of the biggest economic development opportunities that we have in the U.S. in the coming decade. So there are over 25 gigawatts of offshore wind deployed primarily in Europe and Asia. So they have been using this technology for decades. The technology is advancing extremely rapidly right now. So despite its kind of 10-year run up, there are certainly still advancements to be made. But the U.S. right now has a commitment to build between 25 and 30 gigawatts, so about what's installed around the world. States along the East Coast have made commitments to build approximately 25 to 30 new gigawatts. That comes with it $109 billion of investment in a US-based supply chain. So right now, all of these components are manufactured in Europe and Asia where they're installed. But there are 3 major suppliers of offshore wind turbines, and all of them are very actively looking at where they can site new manufacturing facilities in the US. So an offshore wind turbine has, I think I have this next, hopefully I do. I don't, but I'll get into it. Offshore wind turbines have about 8,000 different components. Those components can be developed anywhere in the country, so it doesn't have to all be in the ports. But the ports obviously are where you're going to manufacture as well as install and operate the very large components of. There's really 4 kind of major components to an offshore wind turbine. There's the foundation. That's the piece of primarily steel that is below the water. So the foundation, and then the tower is attached to the foundation. The tower, again, all steel, a steel tube. On top of that, you have the nacelle. The nacelle contains the generator, and then 3 blades from there. So those components are large enough in the next generation of offshore wind turbines that they've got to be all final assembly has to take place on a port. At a port, so that those can be moved via water. They cannot be moved on a rail or other means of transportation. So the economic development is certainly one aspect. How else are you going to generate really large amounts of clean energy? So as we look at phasing out the use of fossil fuels in our electricity generating system, we've got to find ways where we can replace some pretty large generating plants. Solar has clearly become a leader in energy generation in the state of North Carolina, and I think we'll continue to see a lot of new solar development. It's very low cost. It is, we've got a lot of North Carolina-based companies that are installing, developing solar energy, but you've got to have something to complement that. We all know solar is going to produce energy during sunny days. The energy generation profile of wind very nicely matches with that of solar. So in offshore wind generates, the wind is strongest in winter mornings and summer afternoons. Those are the times when we need the most energy. And there are also times when we don't have a lot of solar generation, if any. And so finding those kinds of energy generating sources that are going to be complementary, that are going to add the diversity of generation that we need in our system, that then is going to give us the resilient grid that we're all looking for. And no fuel cost with offshore wind certainly is something that we're hearing more and more about right now that I think is extremely important as we continue to build out the energy generating system.
Just a quick follow-up question on that, just for the audience and for myself. I'm not going to lie. You said a gigawatt. Can you give me what is a gigawatt? Because I have absolutely no reference point for that. So how many homes?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry I'm so ignorant, but
that's okay.
if I am,
ignorant.
somebody else out there listening is. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. And I'm not afraid to ask the dumb question. So
It's not even remotely dumb. It's ignorant of me not to realize. Before I started in this world, I certainly had no idea what a gigawatt was. You can think of a gigawatt as 1,000 megawatts, and that's about the size of of one nuclear generating facility. I think the offshore wind has a really high, they call it capacity factor, right? So the offshore wind is generating a lot of the time that it's in the water, compared to, for example, solar, right? Solar can only generate 25-30% of a 24-hour period. Offshore wind can generate in the neighborhood of 50 to 60% of the day over the course of a year. And so that allows it to supply a lot of homes. Each home requires about 1,000 kilowatts. So I guess I'm going to try to put this, I'm going to butcher this here, but I think of it like a nuclear plant. That's the easiest way that I can frame it. If you take off a nuclear plant, you need to add 1 gigawatt, so 1,000 megawatts. For reference too, let me give you another point of reference. The land-based turbines that are installed up in Pasquotank and Perquimans counties, those are 2 megawatts each for each turbine. The turbines that we're talking about installing in Wilmington East, by the time that project is actually developed, would be at least 14 plus megawatts, could be larger depending on how far out that development process takes. So a good bit larger.
Well, and I think another good point of reference too is the Wilmington East project is 1.3 gigawatts.
Okay.
And that could support, the conservative estimate is 1.3 gigawatts. It could potentially support more depending on the turbines they use, but that'll power about 500,000 homes.
So that helps. Thank you for that. So, and how many turbines to generate that?
I think they between like 69 and 72
Okay, so
or
about
something.
less than 100, but for sure then. Yeah, because that's where I was trying to get a frame of reference for it, is to see how big is it.
Right.
So how, I guess, well, that's going to lead to my next question. So let's at 70, we'll use that number. That's okay. How big an area does that encompass?
So the Wilmington East Wind Energy area is 110,000 acres.
Okay.
So that's about half the size, or I think about roughly the size of Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah, which in the ocean isn't as big
Well,
as you think.
I mean, it's a huge. The ocean's huge.
Yes, but also as technology develops and turbines become more efficient, they're going to become larger, which means you need less of them. So there is a possibility it might be less than 70 turbines later down the road, and that future offshore wind projects will also need fewer turbines. But 110,000 acres is what Wilmington East stands at.
That's a large area, but relative to what your point was, the ocean, it's not really a large area.
Exactly.
Which begs my next question, because you kind of went there. Sorry if I'm taking over. It was funny because I run a training facility, and this morning I was mentioning to my clients the show tonight, and these are the questions they were asking me. So I'm asking you,
that's awesome.
both of you. And I actually did a little research before I came. So I saw on land, like the highest tower, something like 500-600 feet. How high are the towers for the ocean? They're higher up, aren't they?
So, Katharine, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 14 megawatt turbines are about 206 meters, and the blade diameter is, I think, 220 meters. And then, so 260 meters is about 850 feet, I believe.
Ballpark, yeah.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, I know the metric system. That's the scary part.
Well, I'm not great at it. So
that's
yeah,
you're in a neighborhood of about 800.
Yeah.
So they're
over 800
actually
feet
about
tall.
300 more feet than the land turbine.
But they can be. That's the reason
can
why,
be,
right?
Yeah. Between 12 and 14 megawatts is what current technology is.
Okay.
But yeah, about 800 feet. And again, as they get larger, you need fewer of them, which is another benefit to offshore wind.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I was reading somewhere they only rotate like 7 or 10 times per minute. Is that what it is?
8 RPMs.
Yeah, so they're not. It's not like a fan.
No, yeah. So
because somebody this morning goes, "Well, it's not going to kill a bunch of birds because it's spinning around." They pointed to a fan I had. I'm like, I don't think they spin that fast, and that's why I looked it up.
Right. Yeah. 8 RPMs is about is accurate for the 14 megawatt turbines. But if you are interested in any technology that relates to birds, but so many of our migratory species are already tracked, especially endangered species. And another really cool technology with offshore wind that's becoming more and more automated is that they can track migratory species, and they can either sense when they're in the location due to geotags or some human-based monitoring, and they can turn off turbines or parts of turbine farms when birds are in the proximity, or if there's a migratory process
Just
happening.
so, like, I don't know, a flock of geese is coming over.
Honestly, your average house cat is a much larger threat to birds than offshore wind is.
What about the turtles? The reason I ask is because we have on our shores, and I'm sure they do at Wrightsville in Carolina, the nesting, which is a big deal to us because we protect them.
Right.
Will they in any way affect the migratory process of the turtles?
So I don't know if you remember when Katharine mentioned earlier, but Kitty Hawk is a really great example. And again, not everybody can see this image, but they did about 3 years of aerial surveys where they physically went out and tracked every individual within a population that was in proximity to the wind energy area. So that includes every turtle, every whale, every population of birds that was in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And when they work on pile driving, they are very, very conscious, and there are teams of people around to make sure there are no endangered species in the area. They use, there are all kinds of noise mitigation and noise attenuation technologies that help either change the decibel of the pile driving so that it doesn't interfere with marine mammals and turtles, or just helps dampen the noise. So it might be a little detour in their route for a period of time, but overall there's no significant threat to turtles.
Will it keep the sharks away?
I can't promise that.
That wouldn't be a bad thing, right? Because they're pulling hammerheads in on the pier in Curry all the time. That's why that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, I don't think.
So it will not deter them from coming onshore.
No, not at all. And when it comes to cable landing, there's going to be a very extensive process that happens both with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and the developers to make sure that that's done in a very environmental conscious way. And Katharine might have some more information on this, but horizontal drilling is very common with the cable landing. So they're not going to be ripping up marshes and beaches.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bury the cable; they lay it along the seafloor. Right?
They do bury it.
Oh, they do bury it. I was wondering if it was similar, like internet cable.
Yeah.
People forget. Everybody worries about these cables.
Yeah, they have to bury that cable. Sorry, Dan.
No,
They've got to
go
bury
ahead.
Yeah, they bury that cable. It's actually about 6 feet, and that is because. And another question that we often hear is about the EMFs, so the electromagnetic fields, and what might that do to the fish. And that is it's one of many reasons that they bury those cables so deep. But after they bury the cable and then lay the scour material so that you don't have erosion on top of that, the level of EMFs is very close to what you would have in a natural environment. So one of many reasons they bury those cables, but also because when people are dropping anchors, et cetera, you don't want to cut off your energy supply.
No, that wouldn't be good. No, I was because I'm familiar with when they lay internet cable. They don't bury it; they lay it.
Oh, interesting.
A lot, not some areas they do, but like out in the open ocean.
Wow.
They're not driving. You're 30,000 feet down in it's Marianas Trench and all that.
Yeah.
They're just laying it. So I would think that would have as much EMF, for anyone who doesn't know, is electromagnetic frequencies. I would think that would have as much as anything you guys would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Next question I have, if you don't mind, Mary, can I?
No,
Okay, so these are again, these are questions.
These are great questions. Keep them coming.
So I realize you're not the developers and all that, but what, for an average person, want to know, what is the cost for something like this, and what's the return on investment? Because that's like you were talking about different things that's important to. That's mine.
That is a great Katharine question.
Go ahead, Katharine. It's all yours.
Well, so let me start with cost now is very different than what we expect cost to be for something like Wilmington East. And that's because I mentioned the supply chain, right? We have very little US based offshore wind supply chain. So right now, the project prices that we're seeing, the easiest way that we generally talk about electricity prices is in a form called levelized cost of energy. there's no perfect way to describe an energy cost, but that is one that I think is the best that we're going to get right now, because what it does is it captures the upfront cost along with all of the operations, maintenance, and fuel costs. So the levelized cost of electricity that we're seeing right now for offshore wind, and these are bids that have been made up in the Northeast, where some of the projects are further along, are anywhere from 5 to 13, 14 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's a pretty big range. And for reference, the cost of solar in North Carolina is about 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's definitely more expensive than, say, solar, but it also generates electricity at a very different time and a very different capacity. So, when you take all of those things into consideration, obviously you're looking at something that's more than an apples to apples comparison there. In terms of return on investment, another great question. The way that electricity generating facilities work in North Carolina is very different than, again, say in the Northeast. In the Northeast, you're going to have an independent developer that develops a project and just sells the electricity into the grid. In North Carolina, where we've got the vertically integrated monopoly utility system, our utilities are responsible for saying, these are the energy generating assets that we are going to build, and they're guaranteed a return of investment on those generating assets. So again, very different. I actually don't know what Duke's is. The average across the country is around 10%, but it's not, it's not an economically competitive, call it return, right? It's not one company buying over the other. It's the utility saying, we need this generating asset and we're going to build it. And then their regulator says, okay, we agree. And yes, you may recoup your cost plus your regulated rate of return. I'm happy to dive into, but don't have to. We've been really involved, and one of the ways that we're likely to see offshore wind here is because of North Carolina's House Bill 951 that was passed last year. Again, things work a little bit differently in depending on what state you're in, and because we're in a regulated state, a vertically integrated regulated state, there's kind of this balance between regulation, legislation, and the utilities operations that you take into account when you're looking at those things.
Well, that is because most of our state is run properly. I'm sorry I had to throw that in. I have a question for you, Katharine. Let's talk hurricanes and turbines.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
do you want my standard answer?
I do.
Go with it.
I mean, I can't even imagine. I have lived here 28 years. I have been through a lot of hurricanes. I never saw a hurricane in my life until I moved here, and I don't care to see them at all. But the wind is just incredible. So what happens to these turbines sitting out in the ocean where the actual hurricane starts and grows, and stable are they?
Well, offshore wind turbines are built to withstand a direct hit from a Category 3 to 4 hurricane. And that's a direct hit. So the way that, and this is true actually for land-based turbines too, the way that they're constructed is when the wind really starts picking up, the blades actually feather so that they have so that there is less resistance where the wind is meeting the blades. So it's really the thinnest part of the blade that the wind is hitting. So that, again, the wind is meant to go around the turbine instead of be captured by the turbine once winds get to a certain speed. It's also, it's an insurable risk. It's the same as having a home on the beach. It's an insurable risk. It's not a zero risk by any means, right? If our homes sustain a direct hit from a Category 5 hurricane, they are going to have to be rebuilt. If a wind turbine sustains a direct hit from a Category 5 turbine, I would imagine it would have to be rebuilt. But again, those are insurable, just like homes. They're insurable risks.
Okay, well, See, that is something that I had no idea. I don't know why I thought that they could sustain any darn thing, but please tell me what the life expectancy is of the turbines.
That's a good one.
The life expectancy is between 25 and 30 years. It's been very interesting, though, because what we've seen is because the technology has evolved so rapidly over the last couple of decades. What we're seeing, at least on land, is it's called repowering. So they'll take some of the older turbines and they'll, say they're 15 years old, but the useful life of them is technically 25 or 30 years, but technology, if it's evolving at a certain rate, a developer might say, well, I can actually replace this 2 turbine generator with a 2 megawatt generator with a 4 megawatt generator. So the life of these things can certainly be extended. Again, you heard me mention there's the foundation, there's the cabling, there's the tower. Those things, that kind of infrastructure, the life of it's quite straightforward to extend.
Okay, that seems to be a concern because the placement of quote broken unquote parts seems to be a concern of all of the folks that I've talked with. They don't want their landfills
Well, that was
piling
going to
up
be,
with
yeah,
turbines.
you're going, that was a
so-
question I was going to ask, and I'm sure you've been asked this 1,005,000, 100,000 times is what happens to the blades when they wear out?
Yeah.
Because the consensus that I'm aware of is that they get buried in the landfill. Is that correct?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. So right now, and Katharine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 85 to 90% of the turbine is recyclable, with the blades being the only non-recyclable part. But I know that the 3 major offshore wind developers in the United States have made commitments, if it are either in the process or have made a commitment to make recyclable blades.
Aren't they composite material?
They
if they're-
are, which is
Yeah.
why it's so difficult to recycle.
That's
They can't really. See, I would think that would make it recyclable somehow. It's amazing to me because basically composite is, it's not plastic, but it kind of is.
Right.
I would think they would
Well,
be
it's
able
because it's because they're using multiple different kinds of resins to make them so strong. So the inside is balsa wood. It's very light. It's balsa wood. It's foam.
Right.
The structure and also a lot of open space. Right. You look at this blade and you think it's so huge, but there's a ton of open space inside the blade. And then the resins. Those resins are really strong. Right. They're meant to withstand Category 4 and 5 hurricanes and do so quite well. So. What we do with most landfill waste, I sadly was driving by a bank that was being demolished the other day. That stuff all gets landfilled. They just break it into pieces and haul it to a landfill. The reason that they don't do that with blades is because the blade material is so strong. It's actually fairly expensive to try to break them. But I was just reading an article today about. There's some really cool work going on at Georgia Tech about how to reuse the existing blades that can't be recycled. And then, as Karly mentioned, all of the manufacturers have committed to fully recyclable blades in the next 5 years. So there's a lot of R&D going on in that stage. But they're using some of the blades right now to make them, turn them into utility poles. So there's a project in Kansas that's actually going to pilot this, and they're going to stand them up, with the circular piece on the ground, and then have that blade standing vertically and use it as utility poles. They'll use them to, there's a bridge project in Ireland where they're using the blades as the foundation structure for the bridge. So there are definitely some innovative uses, but yes, there are, I'm not going to say no blade has ever been landfilled. That is, that's certainly a concern. And
it's an
something that a
emerging,
lot of folks are
emerging
working
thing,
on.
though.
Yes.
As
So
they
they-
progress
Exactly.
along, they're going to be able to
I'm
find.
sure
uses.
that they
Yeah.
will try to do what they can. So, unfortunately, we have to take another quick break and then we're going to come back and say goodbye for this evening. But we are looking forward to having our guests back in 2 weeks. So, we will be back in a few.
Grill them again. All right, TK, take it away.
In the tackle box, Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, open Monday, Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service, and repair, with certified technicians in all engines and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport. Lee Nails, located at 4956 Long Beach Road, Southport, is the place to pamper yourself. Steve and his staff of 5 are trained to do everything. They offer manicures of every kind. Pedicures include the deluxe, the special, the royal, the common wax dip. Other services include skin treatments and waxing. Lee Nails open Monday through Saturday 9 to 7 and Sunday 11 to 5. Appointments and walk-ins are welcome. Oh, but hurry by before June 16th. They are having a special 20% off. Lee Nails, 910-457-0837.
We need judges who serve we the people, not self-interested career politicians. This is Jenny Statting, wife of Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Michael is a former prosecutor, sitting Republican judge, and a reservist in the United States Air Force. Michael is a lifelong public servant. That is why I'm asking you to remember to vote for Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Paid for by the committee to elect Michael Statting. Michael Statting is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of job title does not imply endorsement by the Department of Air Force or the Department of Defense.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the Founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
Veteran awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Thank you all. Welcome back to All Things Brunswick. Unfortunately, another show is ending. I want to thank Katharine Kollins. She's the president of the Southeastern Wind Coalition. We are going to have her back in 2 weeks. And Karly Lohan, the communication and outreach associate with the coalition. We have not even this great information on wind turbines. So we will once again have you folks back. Please tune in on the 28th of the month when we will have them back again. Thank you, Dan. Great job as usual.
Well, thank you, Mary. Yeah, this was a great show, and I have lots more questions for the future. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, for me, it's been an educational thing, right? As I said, I was a blank canvas coming into this. I don't know basically anything about it, so I'm fascinated by it. Hopefully, y'all are. Guys, if you have questions that you want us to ask, comment below on the Facebook if you're watching on Facebook or in YouTube. We will ask the questions. Then they can be tough ones.
And we'll be ready for them.
I'm sure the ladies will not mind. Don't rely on us to ask the questions. If you have questions, post them. We would love to ask them for you.
Right. Thank you, Katharine, so much for joining us on Zoom, and Karly.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you ladies in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
On that note, have an awesome week, everyone. Mary, you have an awesome week too.
You too, Dan.
And we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you. Good show, guys.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM.